Alright, so basically, a comic convention is like, it's like a gathering of the nerds. It's like a migration. Every there's a con season, and every season we sprout our costumes and we fly, and we gather together and just go like, yee, nerdy things. But actually, it's basically it really is just a convention full of nerdy things. There are specialized ones. There's like, of course, everyone's heard of San Diego Comic-Con,
which of course is one of the biggest conventions in the United States. But San Diego Comic-Con is not the only comic book convention that there is here in the United States. There are a whole bunch of different types. Kayla, would you care to list off some of those different types?
Yeah, I mean, there's really big ones, there's really small ones. I've been to several. I've been to a lot, because it's a really good time. It's basically like, there's comic book ones, there's ones about anime, there's ones about specific shows even.
So these Comic-Cons can get really down to some finite details and some finite fan bases. So, aside from just showing up these conventions, a lot of people tend to cosplay. Okay, I know, another term that's very unclear to us. So Kayla, can you also enlighten us on what cosplaying is?
Cosplay is basically, in the most basic form, it is you dress up as a character. And it can be pretty much from anything. Most people tend to stick to like comic books or anime or video games, but I mean it can like I've seen people dress up as Abraham Lincoln. Like it really can be anything and everything.
Abraham Lincoln, really? Well, I believe that it can really be anything and everything. So, but why, Kayla? Why do people go out throughout this effort and do this?
There's a lot of different reasons for cosplay. Like, some people cosplay because, you know, they want to show their love and appreciation for the character. Some people cosplay because they love the craft. Some people cosplay because they love the attention. Some people cosplay because, you know, their friends are doing it. I mean, you know, any reason under the sun.
So, why do you do it, Kayla? Let me guess. It's for the attention, right?
I mean, I love the craft, and God knows I love the attention, because I like, you know, that sounds bad, but, like, there's really nothing better than, like, you spend, like, I don't even know, like, how many hours on this costume, you, like, slaved away, you cried on it, you, like, threw it across the room, then you brought it back and, like, whispered to it, like, lovingly, you were like, I didn't mean it, I'm so sorry, and nothing feels better than, like, when someone, like, runs up to you and is like, oh my god, I love your costume, can I take your picture, and, like, little kids are like, oh my god, it's Fiona from Adventure Time, and, like, give me a hug, and I'm like, yeah, so it's just, it's fun, it's a really good time.
Wow, Kayla, that actually sounds like so much fun. I'll have to join you next time you go. But I want to cosplay too. So how do I get started? Do I buy my costume?
Well, I mean, there are some people who just buy their cosplay costumes. I'm not one of those people, because I love to make myself hate everything. My process, actually, I have like a master list of cosplays that I want to do. And I'll take one example of Midna, who is a character from a video game, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, who is actually one of my favorite video game characters because she's so darn sassy. So, if you don't know Midna, she's a sort of imp, which, you know, like, naked, I guess, but not like in a sexual way, like, in a, like I'm a forest imp, what do you want? And, she's like your helper through the whole game. You know, I take a look at the picture, and, you know, basically what my first step is to gather as much references as possible. So I'll look at other people's cosplays, I'll look at fan art, I'll look at, 3D renderings, modelings, like, really as many resources as you can find. Sometimes I do a sketch. In the case of Midna, I did not, because, the costume basically consisted of two parts, a bodysuit and a head, you know, like, ornament sort of thing. I took a look, and I bought the bodysuit, and, you know, my original plan was I was going to paint it, and did not turn out as well as I, you know, would have liked, because I was going to have, you know, my friend paint it while it was on me, but it turned out to be this enormous task that, like, there was no way, you know, like, so I ended up just painting it flat. There's a lot of, like, different designs, and there's, like, a lot of complex painting that goes into that. That was pretty difficult, but the headpiece is actually my crown and glory.
So what exactly did you use to make the headpiece for Midna's costume, Kayla?
It is camping mat that I cut and carved and painted and glued and slaved over for like 3 months. But it turned out amazing, and I'm super proud of it, even though when I actually put it on, it was a bit too tight for my head.
Oh no, Kayla, it didn't fit. Oh my gosh, so that must have been so frustrating after working on it for, I'm guessing, hours. Now, Kayla does sew her own costumes when need be, and pretty much does 100% of the work by herself without anyone else's help. However, sometimes all the work ends up waiting until the very last minute. Isn't that right, Kayla?
One thing you have to know about cosplay, nothing is ever finished. Like, everything is finished about 5 minutes before the con, basically. Like there's nothing ever, you're always like, oh, I'll get this done like a week before the con. No, you won't. No. That is a myth. That is a falsehood. So I finished painting up my Minna costume, and I really felt bad about it. I was like, I don't like how this looks. This doesn't look good. Like, no one's gonna recognize me. Like, I was really upset. And like, my boyfriend, you know, because I make my boyfriend cosplay with me, but he enjoys it. He's come to love it. But, so he's like, no, it looks great. Like, you have to go to the con. Like, I'm not going to let you not go. Like, you know, like, you love doing this. Like, so he basically drags me into the car and makes me. So, obviously I couldn't wear my massive headpiece in the car because I would be sticking out of the car. So, we get there and we park and, I'm putting on my costume. And the first, like, group of people who sees me, they're like, oh my god, Minna! And, like, started taking pictures of me and were, like, posing with me. And, like, I have to say that day, I think around, like, at least 200 people took my picture. Like, I couldn't go 5 feet without someone being like, oh my god, Minna! And, like, taking my picture. So that was a huge ego boost,
200 people, that's a really astronomical amount of people.
I know, it was really, really cool. Like, I'm completely not exaggerating when I say that, I could not take 5 steps without someone, like, running up to me with a camera. I bet even more people took a picture of me, and I just didn't even,
register that those people were doing it, because there's just, they must have been, all around you, and, just crazy. Oh my gosh. So, I have to ask, Kayla, you're a girl, and I think people assume nerdy things, Comic-Con, boys, but then there's kind of that, dress up is for girls. So, I'm sure as a girl, and as someone who's really cool and really chill and doesn't look super nerdy on the outside, what do you have to say? Has it ever come up where it's like, oh, you're a girl, doesn't count?
It's funny because I was sitting with these people that I didn't know last night, and they were just like, oh, what is this girl? Was she making fun of nerds? And, like, you do realize that, like, I'm probably the nerdiest person at this table. So it's fun to be a stereotype breaker, but, I mean, it's interesting because people you would never expect show up at Comic-Cons. Like, I run into people from my high school that I, like, at conventions, and I'm like, oh my god, what are you doing here? Get out of here. So, I mean, it's really interesting because I think everyone's a little bit nerdy, like, deep down in their heart. Like I would love to encourage that in people.
I say encourage away, girl. I agree. I think everyone has a little bit of a nerd in them, and they may not know it. So for those who may not easily want to expose their nerdiness, is there anything out there that might be a bigger incentive for trying cosplaying or going to a Comic-Con?
I don't know them per se. I've seen their cosplays online, but there's a group of people who do cosplays from Adventure Time, and they were actually at San Diego Comic-Con, and they got picked up by Cartoon Network to do a series of commercials because they like their cosplay so much. So, like, it's not so much just a sort of nerd hobby anymore, it's not so much a ooh, cosplay anymore, because there are actually doors opening up for people who are really into the hobby.
That's really cool, Kayla. Thanks so much for coming to talk to us about this and giving us the inside scoop on Comic-Con and cosplaying. Unfortunately, we're out of time, so for the PSU Radio Project, this is Alexa Pervanas, signing off.